resolving these issues, usually we tend to focus on the capital projects, you know what I mean? Just building a big pump somewhere. And nobody talks about the existing systems. Nobody talks about them. So in this plan that they are presenting before they started the project, we've been with all of you, is to look at Christina Court, for example, those areas that you have, if you look at the subdivision and how it was developed, you see a catch basin, and then you got to walk so many feet, right? Then you see another catch basin. So the water is not captured into the catch basin, it just accumulates at the cul-de-sacs and then finds its way to your home. So that means that we need to add more pipes and catch basins to those areas. So yes, the first phase is done. They are going to be working, or some other company will be looking at the second phase, and then we have something to work on in the projects.
Let me, hold on a second, if you mind, 1 second. Let me give you also, you don't have to stand up if you don't want. To give you also another overview of that, the issue for that specific project and 2 other ones like it, can you hear me, Bob? Can you hear me?
No.
Oh. Thank you for letting me know. That, how about there? I don't think anybody can hear me on that one. There's 1 or 2 other projects specifically like that. The reason that came up specifically, it wasn't a system-wide project that we're looking at, like in terms of a stormwater master plan. That would be literally the whole city as a whole. Those specific projects were because, so intricate, there's funding that we can get from the state, federal government, pass-throughs, those sort of things. They come along generally once a year under their time frame. And if we don't have something shovel-ready, meaning we don't have engineering done and said this is how you do it, then we can't get money for it. So the council, in forethought, said, guys, staff, we need to have something that we can have on the books. There's almost like a chicken and egg, not to get into the urban chickens, but there's a chicken and egg, like what do you do first? And if you don't have something on the books and ready to go, you're not going to be able to get funding for it. But if you don't have a master plan, you may not be exactly sure which one you should do first or second, which one has the highest impact. So in order to be able to have something on the books and ready to go, before we did the entire master plan, those are the type of projects we said, here are the biggest issues. We've got Sleepy Hollow, we've got some other things that are really big issues. Let's do some engineering on those projects so that if we have an opportunity to ask for that funding, we've got it on the books ready to go. Because if we send it to the state that doesn't have the engineering, we don't even have a chance of getting the money. And some of these are so large and so expensive that that's what you saw. It wasn't the stormwater master plan. Does that answer your question? Okay. I know there are other questions, and I'm gonna try to defer those towards the end to the specialists in the room. I'm a generalist, and I'm a facilitator at heart, I guess. So, and they may come up as things that you want to say and shout out as, here are the projects that I think you need to look at, here are things around my street that I need to look at, and I'll write those down. And then towards the end, again, I'll have the people that are here in the room and talk about their expertise, and feel free to go up to them and talk to them about specific things. And we're also going to talk at the end about things that you can go to, websites, information. I didn't bring anything printed out, but if you did write your email in the back, what we're going to do is write all this stuff out and the stuff that we've got here and send it to you so you've got it at home. So any specific ideas or projects? Do you want me to just say Sleepy Hollow first?
I have an idea.
Okay.
We need a retention pond for Publix right next to Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
Currently, there isn't one, and we're getting all their runoff.
Oh.
Or on Alan Green's property.
And let me say before, let me just put some ground rules here before we get started. No idea is a bad idea, and I also, if we're already doing it, I'm not even going to tell you yet because I don't want us to. Oh yeah, we're already doing that. I don't want to get into that. We'll just oh we already did that. I don't want I want all ideas to be heard and up here, and then we'll go through some sort of pattern afterwards. So if you have an idea, no bad ideas, and please, be open to hearing other people's ideas and don't call them, bad ideas either. All right, so you said stormwater pond near Publix.
Yes, between Publix and Sleepy Hollow.
So pond.
How could they even build an out parcel there without a retention pond?
And the reason why I mentioned that is because somehow they were allowed to build all that without the retention pond, so every time it rains, all their water goes into Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
I think you guys know that already.
Not a special site.
In general.
I couldn't tell you how fire moves. Yeah. go
Yeah,
ahead.
along with that, at one of the meetings they talked about right along Nova Road in front of Sleepy Hollow, there's that undeveloped area, I don't know who owns it, but that could possibly be a retention
Okay.
or overflow area.
So that's a retention pond near.
Nova
Forest
Road and Sleepy Hollow Drive,
Okay.
north of it.
in undeveloped properties.
I don't have many curious questions. I just have a question to ask.
Okay.
I know there's major flooding in a lot of whole areas. But if you are an individual and you have been facing the same problem for years and the city knows about it and what have you, the neighborhood doesn't flood, but you flood because of no drainage coming down from Noble Road to where you live, who do you contact for that? Because I do realize that neighborhoods are more important than one house. But when it's running through your garage, it becomes important to you as an individual.
Well, that is important. It could be, and again, I'm not speaking as a professional because I have no idea. I'm just saying that could be something that'll identify a problem upstream that may need to be addressed. So that is an idea that we should put up here because even though, like I said, it just maybe affects your property, it could identify larger properties up in the system.
Well, there should be more drains coming from Nova down to, well, Rose Bay, let's just put it that way.
So more drains where?
Going from Nova, going south, well, going toward Rose Bay.
Nova towards Rose Bay.
There's several roads, but none of them have drains on them. So all the water comes down and it just happens to hit us. But
Okay.
Randy Milholland, Old Sugar Mill Road.
Okay.
I have two questions, and the first one is, my neighborhood is in the Sugar Mill area, Byro Drive, and Dixon Lane. On each side, there's two retention ponds, pretty large. The outflow for those retention ponds, very inadequate. When they fill up, they flow into the neighborhood, and I'm talking the entire neighborhood just about.
Okay.
Mike and I have met. I've met with not the city manager, but I'm going to. I've met with the engineers and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I would like to be on the list for someone to look at it for some adequate drainage, outflow, because it all comes to my backyard.
And that's what we're here for tonight, so I'm glad you mentioned it because we're going to put it on the list.
The second issue,
Can I write that one down first so we don't forget?
I'm sorry?
That's all right. It was, so there's two interconnected drainage ponds. Can you tell me the area again?
I'm sorry,
Fix-
two retention ponds.
Fixing
yeah.
the outflow.
The outflow from the subdivision Sugar Plum area
Okay,
and the outflow from Nixon
okay.
retention pond.
Nixon and
It all goes to one. There's no separate outflow anywhere. It goes through one pipe.
between both.
No, it goes into my ditch to my house.
So there's outflow ponds at Nixon
Okay.
and Sugar Plum.
Yep.
Okay, and then the next one.
Second thing
Go ahead.
is, I realize when it rains 25 inches, there's nothing anybody can do. And we've experienced that, if everybody remembers those days. The canal that drainage canal drains into is the Halifax Canal, I believe. Is that correct, Mike? Halifax?
Yes.
It goes around to Oak Street. They put a weir there.
Yeah.
That was weird.
The one that then shoots it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it works, but anyway. As you go on down, and follow that, it goes through all the way down to Rose Bay, I believe. Kind of opposite of the Cambridge project. where you put the 468,000 pumps, and it pumps it all into the, anyway, I'm being a little bit.
No, go ahead.
Okay, lots of money went into that. And it works, and I'm glad it did. That area next to the golf course or the go-kart area, I don't know if anyone has ever gone through that to see if it needs to be cleaned out. I know many moons ago, we walked it looking for bodies, and it was very overdrawn, so to speak, okay? That's one issue. When the tide's high and it rains a lot, it stops.
Wait, you have a quota of 2, that's, no.
I'm still on that one. That's it.
Wait,
And that's it.
so an area that needs to be cleaned out, maybe.
I don't
But
know.
that's- Yeah, I don't know either, and sometimes they may know or they may not know.
Yeah.
But having, the people, you guys are, it's kind of like, I used to do a lot of process improvements. And we as facilitators, we are not the subject matter experts. We go into a department and we ask the people that do the jobs day after day after day, what would make a better process? And this is kind of like that. We're planning, we're maintenance, we're doing these things, and we do things all day long, routinely. We try to keep it routine and try to fix things, try to get things done. But the people here and everybody else in the city are like the people that do things at the ground level on a day-to-day basis, that see the things that we don't see, that help us do the job better. And so
Well,
that's,
being proactive is a good thing.
yes.
But 20 years ago, we were supposed to be proactive. 10 years ago, we were supposed to be proactive. And there's been a plan in place for a long, long time.
And we were supposed to have flying cars by now too, weren't we?
And we never, and so I hope that comes
So
about.
possibly cleaning out, tell me the area again.
Yeah. All the way out to the bay,
What, from, where do you think?
behind Go-Kart City,
Go-Kart City.
or next to it, I'd say, and it
It's a
runs,
B-21
I
canal.
think it runs south.
B-21 canal.
B-21 canal.
Okay. Okay,
Is that the B-21?
that's what he said, yeah.
Okay, good. That's it, thank you.
Okay, I had one over here a while ago, then we'll get back to this side. Go ahead.
The drainage system around Labasco's behind it, in that neighborhood. I'm sorry, I'm very shy.
That's okay, I'll sit closer. Which one?
The drainage system in the neighborhood behind Labasco's,
Okay.
Grant Monroe, and Oak Street, it needs to be improved.
Drainage system behind
Labasco's,
Labasco's. Near, you said something.
Grant Monroe, and Oak.
Near Grant, Monroe, and Oak. Which one?
Story.
All right, we had some on this side. Yes.
I come from the,
Oh, so, I'm sorry, one second. Clean out drainage system behind Labasco. There you go. Sorry.
Nova and Rose Bay, you wanted to put South Shore because that's. And also retention pond and stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
I come from the Portona section, which was the original Port Orange of Charles Street. I live on 2nd Street. I lived on Byrow Drive. I lost everything I had as a single parent, and I bought the house on Charles Street, was lied to about flooding issues by my realtor. Long story short, 90% of our flooding issues, it's a drainage problem because our water line leak. For 22 years, you could go out and have water up to your ankles. I feel sorry for the new director of the public works. He is picking up 40 years worth of neglect about the guy that everybody was sorry to see leave. We have been abandoned over there. Byrow Drive, they built the retention ponds down there. They covered up a ditch that ran right next to the railroad tracks. That was a canal that was part of the drainage system out to Rose Bay. They built warehouses that stay empty with retention ponds that stay empty. I'm on Second Street. All of the duplexes built on First Street drain off right onto our east side of Second Street. My house, I get water under my house. My beef is this. They tried to help Byroad Drive, and they took every piece of water they could find, and I love my neighbors, and they put it right into those retention ponds after they built them, which kind of was ridiculous because they weren't built to hold all that excess. They built your retention ponds and it channeled everybody to you. And Byroad Drive is a great neighborhood. This is what I would like to see done. I want some time, and believe me, we flood at night. I am one of the people that alerts the neighbors, move your cars. We have to get off the road. My number one beef is the collapsed pipe on Charles Street that's been lined and is way outdated. Number two, when our road floods,
Hold on a second, I just want to make sure I get it down. Last pipe on Charles Street.
that is correct.
Okay.
The leaking water they did fix a year ago, and I mean, it has been, I mean, you can walk in your yard now. My neighbors that bought on the east side knew their houses were flooded. They built in their property, they built, as I talked to the city managers, all kinds of unpermitted things. Yes, I can pick, I've got pictures, I've got everything. I cannot fight with all of my neighbors. However, there needs to be an ordinance that what they're doing now is when they know we're going to flood, my house is up off the ground, it goes under my house. And you know, of course, we stink for a while and it goes back out. But they will take boards and put them around all their doors. They've taken rocks and dirt around their already flooded houses that are flooded for years. They caulk everything down and they put submergible pumps. Then they pour that water right back into the flood and push on the people that bought houses that weren't flooded. And then the city, in all their grace, compounds the problem because they immediately come running up and down the street. I actually saved, I've lost 2 cars, 3 sets of washers and dryers. I'm old. I step on a block to get up to my washer and dryer in the carport with my water heater on blocks this high because when it happens at night. I don't have the strength to run out and start throwing stuff up on my porch. I went from water probably one section of my driveway, no more than 10 feet, because of the neighbors' actions and them filling in their property and pumping out their houses into the other water. I had water at my porch level, which is about 3 foot. That much more would have hit every floor joist and every hardwood in my house. And there's no one to call. It is not legal to pump water from your house into another flooded area to throw on your neighbors. And then when the city comes, they roar up and down Second Street, it's the south end. And I managed to save my car and my washer and dryer. The tide changed, it was going out. And here comes our lovely city manager and a whole bunch of them in their 4-wheel drive, racing up and down the flooded street, and they managed to create such a wave that they took everything out. I lost the car, and I was just speechless. Stay off the roads when they're flooded. They can see, or better yet, let them get their butts out and walk down that road because that's what we're living.
Okay, so I heard two main things. One is look at best practices for local ordinances related to things that affect neighbor versus neighbor when it comes to flooding. That's one.
You can't
That's
have
one.
your
I get-
neighbors pumping out their house
I'm trying to boil it down to.
into the water and then flooding people that never flooded in the first place, especially when they knew
So
that
that's,
their house was flooded to start with. They bought them, we told them.
so looking into best practices and local ordinances regarding pumping water during floods, like individuals, properties. Then the second was, the way I'm distilling in my head is, review standard operating procedures for responding to flooding. Which is what you were saying
It's
is,
common sense not to, I mean, we don't run down our road. Why are they creating a 3-foot wake and waiting me out? And they never get out and speak to anybody. They just look at us like we're stupid.
well, you know how standard operating procedures start.
Yeah.
exactly like that. You have something that people didn't know was an issue, and then, not that they might not know was an issue, but then you've got a, $5 billion US naval vessel that explodes because somebody flipped a switch when they weren't supposed to. Or the SpaceX rocket, people going in and buying like $200,000 a seat. Do you remember, it was a year or two ago, they were doing the testing, and they dropped out, and the plane exploded. One of them died, one of the pilots died, one of them survived, and they realized they flipped one switch before the other. Standard operating procedures. So, and these things can cause life and death situations, just like you're talking about, or property damage. So standard operating, best practices for standard operating procedures of things to do and not to do in response. Thank you.
I have a question for Patty. Patty, how long have you lived in your home?
I've lived in my home 25 years now.
25 years. And do you have did you have these complaints on day one, or are they more of a more recent nature?
Well, it started in 1998. My neighbor came over and explained how they had filled the canal in along a railroad street, where the old Scotty store used to be. It's now wiped out. I don't know what they're putting there up on Ridgewood. In the back of that used to be a big lake. That lake went into a canal that runs the length of Ridgewood all the way into Rose Bay. Now that lake, the property's been like, what would you say, like, it was getting ready to build on.
Yeah.
That lake is
Improved
now,
property.
yeah, it's now overflowing. Yeah, it's not, that lake is now overflowing, and where it would have been caught by that canal where they built the warehouses between First and Railroad Street, those warehouses sit there with huge retention ponds that don't have a drop of water. First Street doesn't have any gutters, and they've sloped the property down. And I'm on the west side, thank God. The east side property owners, I mean, and I've tried to explain to them, all of them, between their third and fourth, sixth pack. If the property floods and you add more filter, you're going to flood deeper.
So I'm gonna add that one to this one, and I'm gonna try to get, because I know there's other people, and we can go back to if we don't have anything else, but what that triggers in my mind is proper building codes is one. I mean, I don't know what proper is, I'm just saying, looking at the building codes to determine the impact of building certain things in certain ways that may impact adversely other properties.
It's random overbuilding. They put in the low-income housing on Dunlop, where these people live on By Road. It flooded because they put in that sugar plum development. It never flooded before that. They wanted to make the taxes so bad, they said, we're gonna make the money. And now we are living with it. I mean, you should smell the stink we live with.
And again, that goes to looking at, building codes
It's a
and
health issue.
how that affects everything else. Health and how that affects properties. Another thing you mentioned to me that also strikes something is, and you can see, right, she might be much smaller than I am. I've already taken like a whole page. I never learned to write very well.